What's going on, everybody? I'm Elijah Nixon, and that is Wes Rucker. Listen, Saturday is for college football and Tennessee Vols baseball.
Yes.
Breaking news. Wes, was you expecting this to happen today with Josh Elander being named Vols baseball head coach?
This was always what it looked like was going to happen. Now, what things look like or the things people want, once a search starts, when they say national search, you're thinking, okay, is it really going to be a slam dunk to go with Josh Elander? But this is ultimately, this was the heir apparent. This was a guy who turned down opportunities to be a head coach elsewhere. This is a guy who I think the way he's recruited, the way he's coached these offenses, the way he's helped build these rosters, I think the guy has earned a chance to see what he can do with the keys.
Now, you've been around for a long time. You've been around and see Josh Elander actually take his first steps into Knoxville. Tell me, what is he like? What is the kind of a person that he is? He
and Tony Vitello could not be more alike in terms of how they think about baseball. They could not be more different in their personalities. This is like it's fire and ice next to each other right there, right? I mean, Elander, we joke all the time that he always wears that hat down low. You can't even see his eyes, right? It's like, do we have any pictures that have Elander's eyes in them? There, we have at least one right there. But not, he is just a much more quiet, kind of cerebral guy, at least when he's competing. Now, he was a ferocious competitor. He still is. As a player, at TCU, he's a great catcher, All-American caliber catcher, got drafted by the Braves. I think had a chance to be a big leaguer, if not for some injuries and things that ended his career. But he is a very, very smart baseball guy. He is a very, very hard worker. He's every bit as responsible as Tony Vitello is for the way they've built these rosters. And he's sort of been the offensive coordinator for years, too. So you like the weight room stuff. You like the 105-mile-an-hour heaters. You like the 480-foot home runs. Well, this is a guy who can help you keep doing those things.
Now, Danny White did say this will be a nationwide search after Wednesday's departure with Tony Vitello. I guess that private jet went around the country pretty fast to get him here and signed on Saturday. What do you feel like? Do you feel like this is the right move for the Vols?
I think it's the right move for Tennessee right now. I do. And I think, listen, there's no way to know, because if you knew these things ahead of time, we'd be going to Vegas and making that, that good NBA rigging money, right, is what we'd be doing, you know what I mean? But I think that this is, especially given the time of year that it is, and really any time, this is the guy who's been sort of groomed for this job. This is the guy who he and his family are embedded in this area now. People know them, people like them, recruits like them, players like them. This is a family man, and he's got his wife and 3 daughters. His baseball family's in Orange, and they love him too. And this is a guy who, listen, it's a first-time head coach. There's no way around that. When you get a first-time head coach, you know you're going to get some growing pains along the way, right? But you know who else hadn't been a head coach? Tony Vitello. So that's not necessarily a deal breaker. And I think ultimately, Elijah, this is why this was the smart move for Danny White. It is very rare as an athletic director to get a free hit during a search. And what I mean by that is it is so rare to go make a hire that if it doesn't work, people are not going to be wanting to throw you under the bus. This was the hire that could do that. There was no other hire post Tony Vitello that would come with a set of circumstances that would basically absolve Danny White of problems. It was to hire this guy. That was the way to do it. No one blames Tennessee necessarily for the way the Harley Warlick's tenure didn't go the way they wanted after Pat Summitt. Nobody blamed them for going for Holly Warlick. It just didn't work. This is a similar thing here, and I think it will work. But even if it doesn't, this is one that, if Danny White had hired anybody else and it didn't work, that led to some problems.
Now, I need you to take off the insider hat. Come with your heart on this one. Do you feel like dominance will still be with the Vols baseball program with Elander at the helm, or do you feel like the expectations change just a tad bit?
I never predict dominance in baseball, especially in SEC baseball, because as good as these guys have been, there's a program down there in Baton Rouge. It's pretty darn good, too. There's one over in Fayetteville that's pretty darn good, too. There's one down in Austin that's been to Omaha more than anybody, right? Georgia's got a coach that I think Tennessee would have been okay if they'd have tried to go hire him. Same with Alabama. Florida, has always been a program that ends up finding a way to get into the postseason and make things happen. SEC baseball is one of the most grueling things in sports. SEC baseball it's a sea full of nothing but apex predators. I didn't even mention, by the way, Vandy. Also, you may know about them. heck of a baseball program. I don't predict dominance, but I think this is one that keeps the roster together for Tennessee, keeps a lot of the recruiting class together, and that recruiting class Tennessee has that's coming in, not this one but the next one, is one of the best on paper that anybody's ever seen. So if they keep that class together, they keep this roster together, they keep this staff together, then I think they're in pretty good shape.
Now, what do you know about his past history that can help him for his job? I know he's a first-year head coach, but he also played in the major leagues. He played in the college level. What do you feel like what his past life or past experiences can help him in this?
Well, I think he was good enough to play in the majors. I think injuries just kept him from going there, but he was a minor league player there and was a good one and heck of a player. And I think I'm not one of these people who says that like a player turning into a coach has to be from a certain position, right? Like you don't have to be a quarterback or a center or a Mike linebacker to be a good football coach. It does help a little bit. And I think being a catcher in baseball helps you a lot because catcher is the position where you most intimately know all the things you need to know to be a baseball coach. You're thinking every pitch. You touch the ball, unless the ball's put in play, you're touching it every pitch. You know pitchers because you've worked with them, and you've been in the box yourself as a hitter. So I think you put all those things together, and if you're smart and you've been a catcher and you have work ethic, I think some of the best coaches in the history of the sport have been catchers. I think there's a reason for that. I think it's a position where you see a lot of smart guys who know both the offensive and defensive side of the game. So I think he's got a chance to be a really good coach. I do.
No, but then for this, Danny White, everybody was giving him heck for the Tony Vitello thing. This is your fault, Danny. This is your fault.
Which is not necessarily true.
It's not true at all. But do you feel like this was the only move for him to make while he was
I think this was the safest move for him to make, right? I think, and I'll say really quickly on the Vitello thing, Danny White and Tony Vitello were not best friends. There were times they didn't get along, but if Tony Vitello didn't think he could work with Danny White, he would have taken the gobs of money Texas A&M offered him each of the past 2 years to go to College Station. He didn't do that, right? So let's pump the brakes on that, people. I think, but I think this is the hire that is the safe one for Danny White to make. But that doesn't mean it can't be a great hire because I think this guy could be just an unbelievable head baseball coach. It's going to be different. He's not going to be getting ejected and opening a pizza stand or a lemonade stand. He's not going to go to the CMT Awards wearing a cowboy hat. He's not going to be riding horses with Bryce Harper and getting pictures. He's not Tony Vitello. He's not, okay? But as a pure baseball guy, he's right there with Tony Vitello in terms of the way, what he knows about this game, how to recruit, what kids like, how to win, how to manage a roster, especially when you got a talented roster. He ticks all those boxes. So I think this is a safe hire for Danny White to make.
I'm happy that you mentioned that about the ejections with Tony Vitello. We did see Josh Elander take over at the helm last year, especially when he got ejected. So now he's officially the head coach. And if you want more news on our WBIR streaming service, make sure you tune in. I'm Elijah Nixon. That's Wes Rucker.